All right, I'm back again. The Daily Tao. The Daily Taoist. The Tao of the Daily. Anyway, Zhen Shedlong here, Tao of Taoism, reading to you the Book of Changes, Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. And now, last time we talked about the female side of the body. This is 31C, so this will finish number 31. Yeah, he's talking about victory, lust, parades, military, yin and yang, and putting the whole thing together. So yin and yang creates trust or war. It's kind of what we really sort of package this whole thing together. If you can have yin and yang like this, then you have friendship. If you have yin and yang where you're just fighting, right fist against right fist, then you got war. So that's what we got to learn, is we got to learn how to somebody's side of it. Got to sometimes be the feminine in order to be a friend. Okay, so I think there's all kinds of things to be this thing, but you need that balance. Friendship isn't two guys going, yeah, I'm as strong as you, yeah, right. That's total competition. At some point, each of you needs to acquiesce to the other for some reason. Okay, but hey, for harmony, for Tao. Number 31C. The right side of our body is a yang male polarity that will extend itself for control. Now remember, the other one was it would extend itself in friendship if they had trust. Control and trust. Control and trust. There you have it. That's our Shaolin salute, by the way. That's not the reason we do it, but you see all these things are kind of embodied in it. I see. Life has its harmonies, and you realize when you're in the Tao sometimes. Okay, here we go. Back to the right side. The right side is control. By positioning the right yang side to a yin side, remember the yin, somebody says, hey, you're really cool, and I want to hang out with you, and they come over to this side, okay? By positioning the right yang side to a yin side, control is attained by balance. Over here was by trust. Friendship is balanced by trust. So she's thinking, I'm willing to be here because I trust him. And he says, I'm willing to let you be there because this is balance. We have a balance now. If she was creating an imbalance, he wouldn't want her there. But the point is that if you got a balance. So he sees it as a balance. She sees it as friendship or partnership. Okay? So that's just the perspective of the two yins and yangs. Remember, we're about the Tao. All Tao is matter of perspectives. Remember, all the souls have perspectives. The yang has a different perspective than the yin. And so you got to look at it that way. And we all have yang and yins in us. So we have to, or yin and yang. We have to figure out how to come to terms with the yin or yin that's in us. Okay? Accept it. You got to deal with it. Make something out of it. Okay, so where were we? We were on a C. What's that? 31C. There it is. Describe what you desire of people. Describe what you desire of people. I actually just wrote a list and put it on my board. I'm going to need a handwriting, so I have to get in there and look at it. What did I write? But it says, what do I want out of people? Because I'm not looking for sex. I'm not looking for a pretty girl or pretty face or somebody to cook. I'm not looking for those things in people. I'm looking for people that are maybe in the movie business or the animators, or maybe even a record producer or something. I'm looking for people to be friends that are going to benefit my future, and then I can benefit them. I can supply them something that will make their future better too. So anyway, describe what you desire of people. Okay? What do you look for in people to further your goals? Remember, that's what I just said. So what you need to meet people, we can meet people all the time, but have moral purpose. I confess, that's part of the reason I know people so well, is I have just accepted everybody equally and then tried to figure out how to fit them into my life instead of looking for the natural talents and just being more of a talent scout. What do you avoid in people to minimize conflict and competition? What do you look for in people so to minimize that conflict and competition? So what's your answer? Describe the common aspects of your best relationships. So look back over all your friendships, male and female, and what were the best things that connected them together when you were happy, they were happy? What was the kind of things holding that together? How do you utilize your yin female side to gain control? So how do you use your submissive side to gain control? How do you utilize your male and female sides to maintain control? So I'm saying both together. But anyway, they're different. Okay, so like I said, the one hand wants balance. It's going to build something that's balanced. Okay, the other one's yin. It's softer. It's not as strong. It's just looking for a comfortable place that it can feel happy. So one's willing to put some work and one's willing to relax. Yin and yang. Okay, so Explain your male-female emotional balance. Hey, can you jump into that? Explain your male-female emotional balance. So are you aware of how you have female thinking versus male thinking? And I remember I used to only think in the sexes, the material, the environmental thing, the Darwinian programming. But now I realize there's the soul thing. So that's all adds a whole other dimension to looking at this behavioral thing. So now I got to back up and see it from a bigger picture. But how do you explain your male-female emotional balance? Explain your male-female mental balance. Okay, so remember you have an emotional balance. You know, how you react to things and how long you stay pissed off, or if you ever get pissed off, or happy, or how excited do you get. That's your emotional balance. Your mental balance, that's how well you learn and retain and feel good about, you know, being competent and staying, and I don't know, just being smart, just learning. Okay? Explain your male-female physical balance. So there you got the physical, how much you wants to work, how much you wants to relax. So what's your kind of balance, male and physical, male and female in terms of your physical part of your balance. How masculine do you walk? When and why does it change? In other words, when you walk, do you walk in a masculine way or do you walk in a feminine way? Oh, I've spent a lot of time, I guess, because I was at the you locked me in a box with a whole bunch of people, and as far as I'm concerned, you got me with a whole bunch of test subjects. When I was in that shelter for a year, I started like trying to study some of the behavior, and it was one of the most interesting parts of it was trying to imitate the female walk. So a lot of women were walking, and you can tell a feminine walk from a male walk. And so I was trying to figure out what it was. And I was just out in the street. It was, I probably, if so many people driving by, they must have thought I was pretty kooky because I'm sure I could not get it natural. Well, I was trying to. But anyway, and some women just really have walks, you know, where they really forcibly turn their hips, and I had to watch their feet. So I had to get the whole kung fu of it down. Well, how far are their feet? Are they walking? Are they crossing? What's the footwork? Okay, how much is the heel? And then I had to, and I put all this together. It was a lot of work. A woman works very, very hard to, in other words, make that female thing happen. So it made me kind of wonder how much there's other things going on to motivate all this. So we can get into all of that later. But anyway, the masculine walk. So I came to realize that the feminine walk is, you know, it's like a flower, you know, you could be 1,000 feet away and you're going to be able to recognize a woman walking different than a man walking. It's like it's a beaming light, light flashing, so to attract the bees. But anyway, but it was interesting. And so anyway, let's get to the reasonings and the Darwinian stuff we can talk about another time. But it was interesting, and I was looking at the behavior and how they are interacting and how it was affecting the relationships and the walks and the male and the female. And it was the whole thing. And I when I was exiled in Canada, when I lived in Canada, I actually turned on the TV one night to watch Monty Python's Flying Circus. And I saw the funny walk thing. I actually saw it, I think, the night that it was broadcast on the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, when I was living in Newfoundland. And so when that funny walk show, which is, I guess, a classic, I actually was sitting in front of a television in St. John's, Newfoundland, watching that show. And it cracked me up. A couple of their shows did, but they were just so kooky, I couldn't. But, you know, there wasn't any television. I didn't watch much. I played guitar and, you know, did my thing. And even just listening to head, she had a great stereo system and she had great records. She was really into Sally. She had a great record collection, and you always got everything right there. So I had all the current records, and I didn't, you know, now I realize that, look, whenever those records, it's like, wow, I had all the stuff right then when it was being released and stuff. It was really great. And headphones and I was in, you know, guitar. Anyway. How feminine do you walk, when and why? So you had the masculine, and this goes for women too. And I find the women that walk masculine are very attractive, and I've tried to figure that out, and I've seen them in high heels. I'll see a woman in high heels, and I'll think, well, it looks sexy, but, you know, I must have a feminine walk. But no, she would walk just in a really, like, assertive way, and it was like, and with the high heels or boots, you know, it's like, wow, that's attractive, but the masculinity of it actually attracts me, because I guess I'm not a reproductive thing, I don't have as much reproductive. Well, actually, I guess, but anyway, not anymore. Anyway, I'm not as attracted to the feminine walk as much as the masculine woman walk. I find that, I guess, to be much more. I guess it's empowering too, because I like women who can do kung fu. So I'm really looking for I don't want somebody who's going to go, oh, that's too hard. I want a girl who's going to go, yeah, let's do it again. It's like, oh, okay. I was talking about exercise. All right, so how feminine do you walk, when, and why? We're at 10 minutes, my suggestions. And that was 31C. That completes 31. And to actually wrap up 31C, the 31B was the left side of our body is a yin female polarity that will only extend itself in friendship when we trust one another. By offering our left yin side in friendship, and this can be a weapon, but we're talking about it, just so see everything from the big picture. By offering our left yin side in friendship, we stand alongside the right yang side of our friend. So if you want to turn someone into a friend, this is how you do it, okay? You can't force it, you do it. This is the harmonious Tao way. Friendship is balanced by trust, okay? So you have to be trustworthy too. That's why marriages don't work. You can't trust each other. 31A, to round out this whole number 31, the celebration of victory and love of weapons are vile lusting for death. Are vile lusting for death. Military parades are funeral processions in advance. So remember, when you cheer at a military parade, you're chilling, you're excited to go kill people. Okay, Daily Taoist, here to end all wars. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't trying to say go to a military parade and cheer. I wasn't. Now, when I was a kid, I saw the Blue Angels and stuff. I would go to those parades. My dad was in the military army. So I went to the military parades, and I enjoyed them. I saw them, but really, to be honest with you, I liked the boat races and the stuff that really wasn't military. But I went to that. I was actually, like I said, I could have touched him. I've been that close to Ike Eisenhower. I saw John F. Kennedy get in and out of a helicopter and do his speech. I can't remember anything he said. But maybe I was way far in the back with my mom. My dad was graduating, I think. But whatever it was, we were way far away. But anyway, I was there, and I can remember the helicopter landing, and I can remember that he was John F. Kennedy, and he got in, and so that was the extent of that memory. But anyway, how did I get onto that? 12 minutes. But I was talking about the military, the love of military. Like I say, I come from the old homophobic military war machine, slave-producing family. So a lot of the things I might even think I enjoy, it's like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have enjoyed those as much, but I did as a kid. You go along with it. And that's what we do. We brainwash everybody into going along with this murder and stuff, and I've been brainwashed to some extent too. Just noticing some of it. All right, let's decide who we are. Let's decide what right and wrong is. And let's decide correctly, please, with balance and Tao. Remember, if you're making the wrong decisions, there should be ways you can tell. You can figure that out. I've seen Trump's problems illuminated, just dramatically in here. So everything that's going wrong right now could be prevented by anybody who understands this book. If you understand this book, you could prevent all our government problems. You just got to work in the government too.